Hi, this is MF Kitten. I've been getting some questions, and I've seen a lot of people asking on different forums and stuff online how to get a decent metal sound from the Pod HD series. And basically I just spent a lot of time messing with a bunch of stuff, trying out all sorts of things, and I came to this conclusion. So there you have that. I think maybe I'll just lower the treble just a tiny bit. It's a little spiky. Yeah, that sounds good. Very genty for those of you who like that, although it doesn't have to be. I can lower the tone setting on this Tube Screamer model thing, and it's thickens right up, which is where I usually keep it, by the way. So yeah, basically what I've done here is you can see the setup up on top here. It runs into a gate, the guitar that is, into this Tube Screamer thing. Bass is on 55%, just to get a little more thickness out of it. Tone on 85 or whatever suits your pickups. I change it depending on the guitar that's plugged in. And treble on 55%, just because treble and tone affect sort of different frequencies at different points. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but if you want fatness, you have to roll this down, but if you still want some bite, you have to roll this up. So there's that. Drive is on, I think, 15 or 16%. That's usually where I keep it. It doesn't really give any distortion at all. It just compresses. I mean, it's technically like soft clipping, but you don't really notice it very much. But it does sort of, I don't know, it compresses the signal in a way that sort of works with the gates. So it just stays more constant while you're playing without sort of dropping out or anything. As you see, I keep the gate very tight, 0%, and threshold depends on your guitar, of course. Then the output of this is then muted or gated with this gate, which is set at a measly 15%, which is just enough. I'm not sure if you can hear the difference. I'll just turn this one off first. So you can just hear it there, right? And basically it just makes the type stuff tighter, right? And then of course that runs into the amp, and I'll get into the amp real soon. But then it goes into this third gate, which is after the amp. And of course the output from the amp is very high, so I've set it all the way up to 65%, which is just where it starts affecting the amp just a tiny bit. And the decay, just to avoid sort of sputtering sounds, is turned up a little. I can turn it down to like 7%. See, it just stops when you stop. So when you don't want sound, there's no sound, right? Just a little bit of string noise, you know, so it's still sensitive. But you know, you can tweak all that however you want. So into the amp, this is where stuff gets a little interesting, I guess. Drive at 52%, just because 50 is just a tiny bit too low for my taste. And if you start getting way too much above 52, you sort of get this overly gainy sound, which I don't like. Bass at 65%, just to sort of combat the other settings like this, the thump setting. If you turn this down, you can turn this up. If you turn this up, you can turn this down, whatever. So I think it sounds good there. So whatever suits you. But yeah, mid at 80%, which I know it's kind of high, but it works with this. Treble at 55, yeah, 55%. I don't have my glasses on. Presence at 60%. I like a good sort of present sound, a lot of presence. Volume, whatever. And then of course, this is my favorite cab and mic setting. The 4x12 blackback 30 with the 57 off-axis mic. I'm not sure how I arrived at that. I think I compared all of the cab sounds on the Pod HD to this one specific impulse response that I was using, and this was the one that felt closest without any tweaking. Okay, so master, I just have that at 50%. Depending on where you want to take it, I would take it down to 45 or up to 55. I like to move in increments of 5% for no reason at all. OCD. Sag, I have that all the way down just because I want this to be this sort of superhumanly over tight sort of sound where it just smacks in the face, you know. Hum, I don't know. I know it does something to the tone, but I can't really notice it too much, and if you turn it up too much, you literally just get hum, which is not cool. Bias, I had to tweak this a bit, but I found that, where is it, 75%, I think? Oh, it's all the way up at 80. Yeah, I used to keep it all the way up at 100% and bias excursion all the way down. But for this patch, 80% bias and bias excursion is at 60%. I think that sounds great. It's not too fizzy and it's not too sort of muddy, which is, you know, the two ends of this spectrum, kind of. Okay, so moving on to the cab parameters. With this cab, of course, the low cut is at 100, I think. Or is it at 80? 80. I think I keep it at 80. So you can do any more extra sort of low cut in your DAW, which is what I've got going behind here. This is recording me right now. Hello, Governor. Thump, yeah, I just keep that wherever it works for the individual patch. Res level, I found I had to just jam that all the way up. I'm not sure why. If I turn it sort of down, it just sort of loses all its life. You can turn it down a little if it's too fizzy. The decay is kind of an interesting thing. It's hard to hear the difference at first, but if you try the two extremes, you'll see what it does right away. So this is all the way down. And then I turn it all the way up. It sort of sounds overly cabby, I'm not sure what to call it, sort of boxy, which can be cool. I used to keep it like here or something, but now I'm just keeping it all the way down. It's more apparent in headphones, which is what I'm using right now. Okay, so moving right along to the important bits, because sort of the cab stuff and the amp stuff, yeah, you can shape a good basic tone. But moving on to the EQs, these three are what's making this sound usable. So if I turn all of these off, weren't expecting that, were you? No, so these are parametric EQs, and this is a studio EQ. The parametric EQs, I'll go through one at a time. This is what you end up with no EQ. Which is sort of the standard Pod HD, boxy, crappy sound, right? So this, if you see, it turns up lows up to 60. I leave the highs alone here. But then I use this. You see the Q knob is almost all the way up, and the gain is all the way down. So this basically controls one single band, one single frequency. The Q is how wide or narrow the cut or boost is. All the way up means super narrow. And then I've just zeroed it in on this one horrible frequency. So it's at 90%, right? Listen to what happens if I move it around. So at 90 is exactly where that one nasty sort of fizzy, icky high frequency is. Sort of sound. And then the second one, it's in the low end or low mids. I think if I chug, I'll have to use my left hand for the mouse here. If I palm mute, you can probably hear it. Right, so 15% right there is that sort of hum, 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 low midsy, bassy, sort of icky, boxy thing. I widened the Q a tiny bit and I'm not sucking it all the way down with the gain. It's just lowering it so it's not in the way. Because I don't want to remove that frequency, I just don't want it as prominent, right? And I believe this, yeah, I use it as, you know, a little bit of presence boost. It adds a bit of that airiness in the highs. You can see it's set to 8,000 Hertz, which is as high as it goes. It's a little bit of boost, 1.5 decibels, and it cuts at 240 Hertz. Just minus 2.3 decibels, which is, you know, just a little bit less low mids, muddiness, and yeah, level. And I keep a compressor on. You can't really hear it that much, but it sort of adds a tiny bit of transient attack just in the start of notes. A little bit of that, right? It's sort of a little bit more you know? And that's basically it. So the main things to worry about is stuff like this: the bias, the master, and this stuff right here. I find that res level kind of needs to be high in order to have that liveliness, but then it adds fizz, which you have to kill off with the EQ right here, okay? And the thump, you have to be careful with it, because in many patches you're just going to get sort of a muddy mess. And I used to turn it all the way down, but now I don't have to by just tweaking everything carefully. Decay, keep it all the way down unless you want some of that more organic sort of... what I used to call this sort of resonance, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Kind of reminds me of Deftones. For some reason, their earlier albums had kind of that thing going on. It's like you have two mics on the cab and one is further away or something, I'm not sure. So yeah, I feel this patch ended up having sort of that periphery-ish high end to it. Like the sound is coming from deep inside the cab. You hear what I mean? Like, ignore the fact that I'm genting. Yeah, I'm not sure what to call that, but it's that sort of sound. And of course you can tweak it and tweak it and tweak it and do all sorts of stuff. Make it your own, basically. So that's why I am going to put this patch in the description below. Yeah, the pickups I'm using in this Ibanez RG is a Crunch Lab and Liquefier. So yeah, I keep the Crunch Lab with the bar towards the bridge. Just a personal preference. If you have any questions about this patch or about, you know, tweaking your patches, send me a message on YouTube. Because the YouTube comment section is being a bit of a dick, I can't always reply to everyone for no reason, apparently. I just can't hit the reply button because it just doesn't show up for me. So send me a message on YouTube, because I know I can reply to those. I hope I can reply to those. I hope I've been sort of helpful. Enjoy tweaking it and messing with it and making it your own. And please, if you record anything with this patch, show me, let me hear it. And remember to tweak the gate, the threshold. And then if you have any troubles with, you know, it sort of cuts you off or anything, tweak this. And if it's still sort of killing you off or something, tweak this, you know, just turn the threshold down on whichever works. If you want to be sure, just turn these two off and then set that threshold until that feels right. Then turn this on, then tweak this threshold, then turn this on and tweak that threshold, right? And of course, same goes with gain, because different things have different gains, whatever, right? So turn this up until the gain feels good to you when you're playing. And that should land you in the right spot. And of course, if you have brighter pickups than mine, turn the tone down, maybe the treble down. If you have fatter pickups, turn the tone and treble up, or maybe just the tone, or maybe just the treble. Whatever works, you know, try it all. Maybe you need to turn the bass down and not touch these, who knows? Depends entirely on the voicing of your individual pickup. I can't guarantee a great sound for you, but I can help you understand how to get there, hopefully. That's all for me for right now. I'll try to be more productive on YouTube. I just don't sort of manage to put off enough time to make a lot of these videos, you know, because you gotta plan this stuff a tiny bit. Even though this is totally unplanned and sort of winging it. Okay, so I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.